Welcome back to the gospel, and this is your fantasy football show of the week. I am your Jose, the fantasy football fiend, and as always, I have my guy, your guy, young Vander, the fantasy Nostradamus. How at the people, young Vander?
What's going on out there?
Just a quick heads up. We won't be on the air next week for the fantasy football show or for the flagship podcast. We'll be spending some time with our families with Turkey Day rolling around. We will, however, get your Wednesday show out to you, which we record on Tuesday evening. So we'll put a couple of things in there fantasy related. We know that it's definitely going to be a big fantasy week, so we won't leave you hanging there. But there'll only be one show next week instead of three. For those of you that listen to all three, we definitely appreciate you. We'll make sure that we have all the information that you need for next week. We try to get into that one show. And then the following week after that, it'll be back to your regularly scheduled program. With that being said, remember, follow us on YouTube at The Gospel STP. And if you haven't joined the Facebook group, The Gospel Sports Truth, type that in your search bar. You'll find the Facebook group, and we would love to have you there as well. You get a lot more information. You can ask us questions on the spot if you have specific fantasy questions. A lot of those questions come um, are make up the mailbag, if you will. So when we do that on today's show, a lot of those questions I'm putting out to the public because I believe that more than one person may have a question in that same vein, but we can always get your questions answered on the Facebook group. With that being said, let's go right ahead and hop into it. Let's start out with our quarterbacks. We have a few injuries that are kind of par for the course. They aren't going to put the quarterback in danger of not playing. But when you're this far into the season, everybody's a little bit nicked up. But we do have Jalen Hurts, who is tending to an ankle issue. We have Sam Darnold. He is dealing with a foot injury. Brock Purdy, he's limited on Wednesday, dealing with a shoulder injury. Thursday's game this week. Thursday's game could be affected by bad weather. Make sure you keep an eye out for that. So we'll have Cleveland on this Thursday. So if you had Jameis Winston as a fill-in, that may be affected by that weather forecast. Cooper Rush will remain the starter for Dallas as of right now. CJ Stroud, he was pretty solid in his showing on this past week. My question for you about CJ is, do you think he's going to round into form when we get to fantasy playoff time, or is this kind of a sophomore slump where he's not hurting you, but he isn't putting you over the top, which is where he kind of was on last year? Or do we think that this is just a matter of well, you had Nico go down, you had Diggs go down, Tank went down at one point. Now Nico's back, Tank's still there, Diggs out for the year. Like there's been a bunch of moving pieces. So how do you sum up his season so far?
I mean, so far he had to deal with, some injuries to his pass catchers. Diggs went out for the season. We seen brain freeze. My boy Nico Collins, he just got back. So of course he's playing better. He got better weapons around him. If you look at the playoff schedule down the pipe, he got Miami, Kansas City, and then Baltimore. So hopefully, now if you have this guy and you can make it to your Super Bowl, your championship game, you can't ask for a better matchup than Baltimore. That's like golden, where all quarterbacks are having great games against them. So if you got a bye or you can get out that week 15, it's smooth selling from there. You got Kansas City and you got Baltimore. So those are two games. I like him as a quarterback.
We have a couple other guys that are staying pat. Bryce Young will remain the starter after the bye week for Carolina. Drew Lock will remain the number two quarterback with Mr. Tommy DeVito taking over for the Giants being their starter. Do we think that this will be the way the season rounds out, or is there a chance, depending on the performance of Mr. DeVito, that Drew Lock may be able to go from being the number two to being the number one? Like what's going on in New York?
I mean, I get, well, firstly, I predicted this. Everybody remember a couple weeks ago I was telling you DeVito's the guy. Everybody was thinking Drew Lock was gonna get his turn, but I'm like, nah. DeVito already has proven that he can win some games, and also he's kind of a fan favorite. So, and at the same time, why not play that third string guy to keep yourself at the top of the picks? You know what I'm saying, going into next year. So for that reason, I think DeVito maybe can take us all the way out through the season. He's going to have some highlights here and there, run the ball, he do a couple of things, but also for the reason of grasping that higher draft selection, I think he may be the guy on the way out.
Let's move on over to running backs. Josh Jacobs dealing with a couple of injuries, quad and calf, but he was limited at practice on Wednesday, which means that he should be good to go. Isaiah Pacheco, he logs another limited practice. Do we think we're going to see Pacheco this week, or will there be another week for him to kind of get warmed up? But he's been a limited participant in practice all week.
I'm not going to say you're not going to see him, but if he does play, don't start him. We haven't gotten there yet. He's not going to get enough touches to be fantasy relevant. I still think Kareem Hunt is the guy for this week.
Zamir White not practicing on Wednesday, dealing with a quad injury. Alexander Madison missing on Wednesday, dealing with an ankle injury. Marshawn Lloyd moves to the NFL list. So, non-football illness, NFI list, excuse me. He moved to that list on Wednesday. Don't exactly know when he'll come back, but that probably won't be very much fantasy related anyway, barring injury. Tajay Spears not practicing on Wednesday. He was dealing with a concussion. Jonathan Brooks, he remains a full participant, so no setbacks after his debut. DeAndre Swift, he is nursing a groin injury, so he isn't practicing on Wednesday. We'll have to see how that goes. Devonta Smith, moving on over to wide receivers. He didn't practice on Wednesday due to a hamstring injury. Jordan Addison, he had some issues with his leg. Apparently, it was nothing more than cramping on this past week, so he should be good to go. Brandon Cooks, listed as a limited participant. I don't know how we feel. Maybe there's some people in some bye week situations. Maybe Brandon Cooks is on your waiver. Would you even attempt to go that direction, or would you just go a little bit further down, even though the projections may be there for Cooks?
No, I wouldn't go with Cooks. I mean, they already have Cooper Rush at quarterback, and he hasn't been playing it for a while now, so that doesn't sound like a recipe for me. So, nah, avoid.
Mike Evans limited in his return to practice. He had that hamstring injury, but the fact that it is Wednesday and he is limited, does that give you any faith in Mike Evans?
Yeah, I think Mike Evans will play this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill limited on Wednesday, still dealing with that wrist injury. It's been indicated that he may actually need surgery, but he's putting it off. That always scares me. If a team gets numbers wise to a point of no return, that player may not even go, and that may be the most important time for you as a fantasy player, because they'll kind of know where they are unless things are such that the division games towards the end will kind of make or break things. But what's your confidence level as far as Hill is concerned?
Man, in my opinion, Hill is the biggest fantasy bust this year because you likely picked him in the first round, right? And he haven't given you pretty much anything this year. So that being said, cold weather's approaching. We know how Tua get around this time of the year. So, nah, I'm just not a fan of Hill. He's good. I mean, he still has speed. He can maybe, explode at any time, but no.
Be interesting to see how that team rounds out the season in general and what they do going forward. They just paid Tua a lot of money, and they just redid Hill's contract. It kind of feels though that if the injury didn't happen to Tua, we wouldn't have quite as bad of a showing that we've gotten from Hill. So there are a couple of guys that were drafted high and they just aren't producing more so than pieces around them being a part of the cause. But we'll kind of get into that in the off season and kind of see where the rubber met the road and all that
Well,
kind
another thing is this. I think if they are mathematically eliminated, then he may go on IR and get that surgery right away. Because what would be the purpose of playing at that point? I think they're at a point now they can't afford to lose any more games. So they still have a shot to get in. But I think if they're eliminated, then at that point we may start see some guys kind of like fade to black.
A little bit of tight end news before we move on over to rapid fire 10. Jake Ferguson, the Dallas tight end, didn't practice on Wednesday. He is still recovering from a concussion. Josh Oliver, the number 2 tight end in Minnesota, isn't practicing due to an ankle injury. Theo Johnson is still dealing with a back issue out there in New York. George Kittle intends to play on Sunday, even though he was dealing with a hamstring injury. He is indicating that he'll be good to go for sure, barring any additional setbacks. Sam Laporta had a full practice on Wednesday. He was dealing with the shoulder injury. That pretty much wraps it up for tight ends. Njoku's going to be good to go for the Thursday game, so uh, we'll be able to see him go up against the divisional rivals with the Steelers. I wouldn't necessarily play anybody from that team going up against that defense and bad weather, but he'll be good to go if you're in a bye week issue and Njoku got to go. But that pretty much wraps it up for your news and your notes. Let's hop into rapid fire 10.
All right, let's get right into it, man. Rapid fire 10. Who do I start this week? We got Tommy DeVito or Jameis Winston.
I think I might actually go with DeVito. And only because a lot of times you'll have that initial jolt, if you will, before the carriage turns back into the pumpkin. His first 2 or 3 games may be kind of like it was when he was given the opportunity before, and he kind of catches lightning in a bottle, then comes back down to earth. I don't want any parts of most teams going up against the Steelers. So, yeah.
We got Caleb Williams or Bryce Young.
I guess I'm a roll with Williams. I'm a roll with Williams. He has the better weapon.
We got Bucky Irvin or Javonte Williams.
Give me Bucky.
All right. We got Nick Chubb or Austin Eckler.
Nick Chubb or Austin Eckler. I know Ford is going to be back in full effect this week, so there may be splitting carries there. And again, Pittsburgh's defense. Yeah, give me Eckler.
Excuse me. All right, we got Rico Dottle or Jalen Warren.
I'm a roll with Warren. I don't think the game strip will get away from Pittsburgh the way it could get away from Dallas, and Dallas not be able to run. That Pittsburgh versus Cleveland game was going to be a running into the ground game, no matter how you sliced it. And Harris is coming off of a bit of an injury, so I can see them kind of keeping the freshman in, if that makes sense.
We got Quentin Johnston or DeAndre Hopkins.
Give me Hopkins. Every week that passes, that connection between the quarterback and the wide receiver is just going to get that much better. and due to there not being very many options in Kansas City, I I can see Hopkins possibly being a fantasy darling as we go into the playoffs.
We got Marvin Harrison Jr. or Calvin Ridley.
Give me, if I need to hold it in the road, give me Harrison. If I need lightning to strike because I'm going up against a team that puts up a ridiculous amount of points and I need a player that is going to give me that possible boom week, I'm going Ridley because he can, have one of those days where he just puts up quarterback points essentially. So that's kind of where my head is as far as that's concerned. He has the bigger boom potential, but he also has the bigger bust potential. So if you just need somebody to hold it in the road for you, go with Harrison.
Brock Bowers or Devonta Smith.
Give me Bowers. Targets mean everything, especially in the red zone.
Uh, we got excuse me. We got Malik Neighbors or Kareem Hunt.
Give me Neighbors. Even if Pacheco doesn't have a full slate of carries, just the fact that that backfield is now a committee, give me the guy that should get peppered with targets.
And last but not least, we got Mike Evans or Tyrone Tracy.
Give me Evans. I kind of feel like Baker Mayfield is going to try to get to him early and often, and Evans is normally good for a touchdown. I'm gonna roll his way just because of the targets and the likelihood of him getting a touchdown.
So that concludes our rapid fire 10.
All right, good people. So let's hop into the mailbag. There are a few questions that are out here. We'll go ahead and get to them. Make sure you guys either DM or just put in the regular Facebook group on the page what your fantasy concerns are, and we will either do one of two things, or in many cases, both. We'll either answer you directly right there on the Facebook page or give you your answer on the show. 9 times out of 10, for most, we will end up doing both. Give you a quick answer online, and then kind of give you a few more of our thoughts on the show in and of itself. So let's hop right into it. This is Dante. A trade was vetoed in my league. Lamar Jackson and Braylon Allen for Golf and Bucky Irvin. The commissioner turned it down, saying it wasn't fair, even when the trade calculator marked it fair. Good call, bad call. So, for me, and I think you might be muted. I'll come right back to you for your answer.
Oh, I'm gonna
Um,
say that was a bad call because I mean that trade is not so outrageous to the point where you know no it should be denied anything. So no, I thought it was a bad call. That's a trade that you should let go through.
I mean, the way I'm looking at it is like this. Well, first of all, unless it's collusion, it shouldn't be vetoed. A commissioner shouldn't be saving people from what's fair and not fair. The fair comes around once a year and it has cotton candy and a Ferris wheel. That's fair. There's no, if I charge you a premium because you have a position that you can't get any traction with from anyone else, but it's a need on your team. What if this guy that has Lamar Jackson also has three other quarterbacks, but he's hurting for a running back, and Bucky Irvin could very well be Tampa Bay's starter or split starting carries. So again, I'm not going to be the one to save anybody from making a bad trade, but context matters as well. and having a guy that you really can't use unless his starter gets hurt, and you're giving up that guy, and then in return you're getting a guy that's been increasingly getting more and more love on the field. If you needed running back help, the commissioner might have just actually hurt this team more than he helped the team. So I'm never a proponent of vetoing trades unless we're talking like something that it just makes zero sense no matter how you add it up. This I don't put in that category.
Right.
Dynasty question: Gibbs or Brees Hall in Dynasty?
Gibbs,
From
easily.
McCray.
Gibbs.
Gibbs for me too.
That's easy. Gibbs had potential to be the best in the league.
Correct. Absolutely. And honestly, he might be there already if he didn't have another back end RB1 in his same backfield.
Right.
So, this is who do I start? Njoku or Otten at tight end this week?
Otten.
Yeah, stay in the flames. I get the thought process behind this because they're probably thinking, well, if Mike Evans is to return and Otten isn't the only target out there, does it kind of go back to not being the Otten show?
Well,
And
I mean,
who doesn't have a whole bunch of people out there fighting him for carries either. So if you were looking at Njoku and Jerry Judy, Otten and Evans, who's likely to take targets from what tight end? I guess maybe that's the frame they're coming from.
I feel it, but at the same time, there's enough targets to go around. It's not like they only throw the ball 10 times a game. I mean, this is one of the higher passing teams in the league. So even if Evans is back, hell, that should make it even a little bit more easier for Otten. Now he's not keyed on the whole game. You know what I'm saying? So a little bit more attention is going Evans' way. And when they got down towards the red zone, Baker Mayfield has been really looking for this guy. So I'm going Otten.
This is another dynasty. Actually, no, this isn't dynasty. This is fantasy in general. And I definitely understand where some of this is coming from at this point in the year. I'm interested to hear your take. If you have a 1% chance to make the playoffs, should you still be putting in waiver claims?
If you have, what's the percentage?
He said if you have a 1% chance, which I don't know how that's
How's
being
that possible?
whatever the case is, but that was the question. If you have a 1% chance to make the playoffs, should you still be putting in waiver claims?
Yeah. If you're not mathematically eliminated, then keep fighting.
Agreed. But I don't care if it's a free league. If I paid to get in, the game is still going.
Yeah, keep fighting.
You know how many times the game looked as if it was over, and then people come through in the clutch? Like, once I'm out, I'm out. And then I can understand, not putting in waiver claims, unless we're talking dynasty, and these waiver claims actually parlay themselves over into future years. But until you're mathematically out, or until the playoffs start, depending on what's agreed upon before the season starts. That's the other thing too.
Right.
Yeah, I say keep playing while you can play. And it sounds like somebody that's in the playoffs needed a guy, and somebody that's probably not going to make it in used the waiver claim. Somebody that probably wasn't doing much at all year. Now they feel like somebody might have put a bug in their ear. But hey, get this guy so he can't get him. Hey, it is what it is. Until they're mathematically out, I got no problem with it. Okay, so they have to drop 2. And they don't exactly say why, but they have to drop 2. You got
Maybe roster
Stevenson.
space.
Say again.
Maybe roster space.
It's a lot of people on bye this week, so maybe it has something to do with creating,
Mhm.
a spot. And he does have a couple people that are on bye on the squad, but he has to drop two. He has Will Disley, Stevenson, New England, Kareem Hunt, Drake London, Cade Otton, and White out of Tampa Bay. So you got Disley and Otten, and it's only one tight end spot. I think I'll probably start there.
Yeah, well, Disley's one for sure.
Who's the second
Um,
one for you?
does he have another tight end on the team?
Otten, Cade Otten.
So he only has two tight ends. So he had to
Yeah.
drop
Oh
one
yeah,
of
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah. Only two
All
total.
right. And yeah, Kareem Hunt. It'd probably be Kareem Hunt
I'm thinking Hunt and Otten. Um,
and Disley. You mean?
I mean not Otten. I'm sorry, Disley and Hunt.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Let's see here. Trade proposal. This is a dynasty league. You got one team that's going for the gusto this year, and another team that is preparing for the future. This is a no-brainer to me. But yeah. You got Drake London is who he would be giving up to receive Rashee Rice, Chris Godwin, Ricky Parcells,
Dang.
a 2026 first and second round pick.
Yeah, what are we talking about? Why are you sending this question?
Just honestly, Rice and a pick is his worth. I mean, Rice is the better wide receiver, and if you're not about to win nothing this year, just being able to get Rashee Rice.
Look at him.
I mean,
I don't care if you're trying to win or not trying to win. You trade
you're
that.
about to be highly upset. But yeah, I would do that yesterday.
Yeah. I don't care if it's Drake, the rapper. You trade that.
Yeah, that one's you know how sometimes you'll get something and it's just like maybe I'm missing something. Like it seemed too good to be true.
Yeah, a lot of trades I was sitting there and I had to look at it for a while. Like, I want to hit it fast because I don't want them to pull it. But at the same time, I was like, hold up. Did he really?
Like, what did I miss? Like, what?
Yeah, did he really send me this? I have to read it slowly.
This is just a comment. David Montgomery is so underrated. He's an every week RB1.
Yeah.
He gets those touchdowns in for sure.
Yeah.
And he definitely is underrated. He was one of those guys we were telling you over the summer that was going to be a draft steal.
I mean, this is the only team that you literally can play both of the running backs as your starters and be good.
All right. So this is a bye-week apocalypse issue. I have serious injuries going on. Mm-hmm. All my other running backs are on bye. Mm-hmm. I have Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. Should I grab Akers off the wire and start both Jones and Akers? So he got to find a running back, but he didn't tell us what the other options are at running back, if not Akers. So
but don't start Mason. So start there.
So you starting Jones and Akers and sitting Mason?
Yeah. Yeah, Mason, because I mean, McCaffrey's getting over 90-some% of the snaps. Like,
correct.
Jones and Akers just had almost like a 50-50. I think it was like they pretty much split it this past week. So I think Jones is a little banged up. So yeah, I'm going Jones and Akers easily.
All right, we rolling with Tracy or Herbert?
Tracy. Yeah, that's easy. Herbert. No, we're going with Tracy.
Now, Hubbard does have,
Oh, you say Hubbard.
yeah, Hubbard.
Oh, they say Herbert. Oh, Hubbard. They're playing. Yeah, absolutely, because they're playing Kansas City, who gives up nothing on the ground. So yeah, you want Tracy. This is easy.
I have to drop one. Chubb, Eckler, or Williams. And Williams is the running back for Denver.
Chubb.
Chubb.
Yeah. I mean, what has he done since he's been here? He's a shell. Right now, you carrying a name. That's it. He hasn't done anything.
All right, so I needed a running. No, I needed a wide receiver badly. I traded Saquon Barkley, and in return, I got Alvin Kamara and Darnell Mooney.
You really needed one badly. You did that.
I mean, here's the thing. I know it's not a sexy name, but and let me just let me go to the numbers because I'm pretty sure that what I'm about to say is on point. But Darnell Mooney has been very much underrated this season.
He has been. He's done well.
In PPR, I'm looking up his current ranking. We're going into week 12. He's wide receiver number 9. 9 on the year. He's as solid as they come. You remember I was telling you during the offseason that he's about to be Cousins' new Addison? And remember I was saying that people that draft
he's not Cousins. He's not Cousins. He's not Cousins Addison. He's Cousins Jefferson.
Well, I mean,
Drake is Addison at this point.
I mean, as far as the run and go get it guy. When he just has to throw it up and hope for the best, that's going towards Mooney's way, not Drake London's way.
Mm-hmm.
And so for you to get the number 9 overall wide receiver, and then Alvin Kamara right now is the number 3 overall running back. Like, how much? I mean, I know the name isn't sexy, but how much more do you think you're gonna get for Saquon? You got the number 3 overall running back and the number 9 wide receiver.
Yeah.
So per the numbers, that trade worked out pretty well because, I mean, Barkley, I want to say is number 2 behind. He's number 2 behind Henry.
Right.
So you only move back one spot at running back, and you got a whole wide receiver one.
Yeah, it would depends on the rest of the season outlook for me, though, schedule wise. But this makes sense for me.
And the other thing to keep in mind, Mooney will either be in a dome or in good weather. We do know that.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people are going to look at that trade and be like, what in the world did you do? But, I mean, I don't know if you could have done much better than that.
No, I'm not mad. I'm not mad at it, though. I'm not mad at it. I mean, I just traded you Jamar Chase, and people was like, you could have got more, but nah, this is good. This is a good spot. I'm cool with this. People like the overpriced.
Waiting for more will get you stuck. Look
greedy,
for more,
man.
but be ready to make a move. Is how I look at it.
Yeah, greedy. I ain't greedy.
Start Bo Nix versus the Raiders or Kyler Murray versus the Seahawks.
Bo Nix.
But Bo Nix has been different this year. Like he's getting in there and getting it done. Can't be mad at that.
better matchup, and he's hot right now. So stay in the flame.
Eh, just got offered Dowell for my downs. I'm not happy about it, but I'm currently starting Estime. So he's got some running back issues. I guess he just wants a name that has the job for sure. Um, I don't know if you need running back help that bad, then I guess it is what it is.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, Downs isn't anyone that I would have under protective custody, like you know, break glass in case of emergency. He was somebody that I would try to move for a running back. So, uh, okay, wow, this is how the mighty have fallen this year. And in a redraft, it sounds funny, but maybe it is. No, it's stupid. But do I drop Will Disley? I mean, do I drop Sam Laporta to pick up Will Disley?
no,
I don't. I think that question is coming more out of frustration.
yeah,
But nah, don't do that.
no,
I, and Disley is tight end 19. Laporta is tight end 17,
yeah,
and Disley has had a couple of weeks uh, where he's been putting up some numbers. So but I'm not doing that. Like let's not get so aggravated that we just start. I mean, he put up 18 points against Cincinnati, 8 points against Tennessee, 2 against Cleveland, 9 against New Orleans, 16 against Arizona, 6 against Denver. I mean, I don't with those numbers. I'm not 100% sure how he's tight end 19. Now he started out the year 2.544, but he's had some weeks. And tight end has been one of those positions that hasn't been very pretty. But I'm not jumping out off of that ledge.
no.
We got one more here. Who would you pick for the rest of the season and why? Oh wow, this one hurts just to say it. CD Lamb or Tyreek Hill? Who for the rest of the season and why? And actually, it's one more after this.
I'm gonna say CD.
CD, okay, and why?
Uh, Dome
Okay,
and better weather, right? Because Miami usually play off. Well, I had to look at the schedule, but usually around this time they always playing in
I
cold
believe
weather.
Miami still has to go against Buffalo again. They may have to go against the Jets and New England again. I don't think
Yeah.
you played them twice yet. I
They
don't
they
think.
typically don't perform well in cold weather, so for that reason, I'm gonna go to CD. I'm gonna go CD for that reason. Um, and Cooper Rush has played. He played a little bit better this past
Yeah,
week, so maybe that will continue. So yeah, give me CD.
his next. Well, we play against them this week actually in New England, but it'll be in Miami. Then they go to Green Bay. Then they have the Jets. Then they're at Houston. Then they play San Fran. Then they're at
Right.
Cleveland. Then they're
Yeah.
at the Jets.
Now look at those cornerbacks.
Yeah,
Okay, give me CD.
and with Lamb, their schedule ends up being this week is Washington. Then they have the Giants, then Cincinnati, then Carolina,
There you
then
go.
Tampa Bay,
There you go.
Philly, and then Washington again.
So Philly's the only team now on there that's like that
That
for
makes
a
sense.
secondary. Yeah.
Now, this one, I didn't think that this would be a question at the beginning of the year, but it's a valid point. This is a rest of the year question, and this is redraft. Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix?
Uh,
And I can pull up their schedules if you need me to.
yeah.
With Daniels, we'd be looking at, let's see here. With Jaden Daniels, we're looking at Dallas this week, then Tennessee. Then they have a bye in week 14. New Orleans, Philly, Atlanta, Dallas. And with Knicks, Knicks is Las Vegas, then Cleveland. They both have a bye week 14. Indy, the Chargers, Cincinnati, Kansas City. So everywhere Bo Nix plays is going to be cold, possibly bad weather. But
I'm gonna stay
he's
with
only
Jaden.
had one bad game this year. That was against the Jets.
I'm gonna stay with Jaden.
Sticking with Jaden?
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with him. I'm gonna stick beside him.
And that pretty much wraps it up for this show. Make sure you check out the show tomorrow. And again, just a friendly reminder, on next week, we will only have the show that comes out on Wednesday, the midweek weekly recap, and we'll go from there. But remember, always tell the truth and nothing but the truth. We'll see y'all next time.